Welcome to Working Relationally in the Here and Now in Coaching. The here and now refers to the immediate events of the coaching hour. What is happening in the coaching room, in the relationship, the space between the coach and the client in this immediate moment. For example, you may observe that in the here and now, the client may go on talking and you may feel like there is no space for you to enter their world. The client may get angry with you for a statement that you've made or vice versa. You may find yourself working harder than the client to bring about a change. You may identify so much with your client that you feel ill-equipped to help them. I'm sure these statements resonate with a number of us coaches. In today's session, Aruna Gopakumar will enable us to look at the significance of these unspoken experiences. What could they reveal to us? How do we use these experiences meaningfully to understand the client's internal world? And how our internal worlds interact with that. How could you bring it up in the engagement with your client in a way that is helpful to your client? Aruna promises, as always, to explain these ideas in simple and engaging way, using stories from her book. And how do you feel about that? One of my favorite books. I've read it once, and you can already see the bookmark. Every time I want to refer to a particular story, I go and refer to it. Definitely helps me in having more meaningful coaching conversations. She, along with Yashodhara, have co-authored this Penguin published book, and very happy to have you on, Aruna, to be sharing some stories with us and helping us learn. A little bit about Aruna before I hand it to her. Aruna Gopakumar is the founder director of the Leadership Development Organization, Navgati. A number of us here are Navgati alumni, including me. She is an MCC level coach, a teaching and supervising transactional analyst, and the current president of SATA, the South Asian Association of Transactional Analysts. Her current work is in the training and supervision of practitioners in transactional analysis, psychodrama, and the use of autobiographical narratives. She offers creative, and I can vouch for that, therapeutic workshops for groups. Her TED Talk, Psychotherapy, a New Normal, is a popular one. Go check it out. With that, I hand it over to you, Aruna. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Shanti. And very, very delighted to be here. I thought I had moved away from the world of coaching, but I see so many friends here, so many friends here. So I'm really happy. So I see Abhijit smiling. Very happy to be here with all of you and talk about working relationally using stories from my book. So two things that excite me a lot. Hi, Sheboti. Hi, Preeti. It's very tough to not pause my session and say hi to old friends. So, shall we? And thank you for this very warm welcome, Shanti, and this superb organizing. I'm full of admiration for the tightness with which you held the process. Shall we start? And maybe we can all start by you putting on chat what attracted you. What attracted you to this session? Just 2 minutes for me to get a sense of. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you, folks. Okay, so I'm. Okay, so. Okay, Sagira, you're getting impatient as a coach, which is, I'm glad you are owning that. Yeah, we have to own our fallibility and our humanness, and that we get impacted by our clients. Yeah, lovely. I think more people are writing. So here and now is a word phrase that got repeated. All right. Okay, and I think I should also especially acknowledge the presence of Lena. Yeah, I think she was the one I started my coaching journey with. I don't know when. When was it, Lena? It's at least 12 years ago, isn't it? Or more than that. I think
2009.
2009 we started, is it? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you are here is so wonderful. All right. So working relationally is a complex field and it can take years to master, but it's also, so today is an introduction to it to understand what it is. My identity is now that of a psychotherapist. So I might say therapist many times instead of a coach. But I think these are very overlapping areas, and what I'm going to talk about is going to be useful to all of you as practicing coaches. So I'll use 3 stories to highlight what can happen in the therapy room, in the coaching room, and how you could use that meaningfully in a way that helps the client. So before we start, the standard contracts, confidentiality, this is a learning space. So to make it safe for all of you, whatever is discussed here stays here. But how will this recording be used, Shanti? Will it go onto the website or something?
It does go onto the website, and if there are areas that people don't want to be put on the website, we can
Take
cut
that
them
off?
out.
Okay, I forgot about the recording. So maybe it's not confidential. So remember that while you share. The
But
breakout.
it's also uploaded to the YouTube channel, right? The chapter's YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask questions in between, and I know from experience that a lot of people want to answer. But in the interest of time, I might say just 3 answers or 4 answers, and I'll keep the session moving. And possibly I'll pick up different people to answer each time so that we can hear many voices. So that's about it in terms of contracts. Yeah. So what does here and now, shall we start? What does here and now mean? Here and now means what happens in the immediacy of the interaction between you and the client in the coaching hour. There are many things that happen beyond the verbal conversations. For instance, a client may suddenly move back into their chair and start giving monosyllabic answers. Or as they walk into the room, they may, if it's a physical room, they may just keep struggling with the latch on the door for a long time. So there are things that happen. And all of these reveal something about the client's inner world and can be a very rich source of information. So there's something that they reveal about themselves. And when we observe how a client shows up or how a client expresses themselves, we get impacted and we get pulled to react or respond a certain way. So that also is a non-verbal happening in the here and now in the therapy room. So there's a client showing up, which is an outcome of their history. There's how I show up as a practitioner, which is an outcome of my history. And our 2 histories interact to create a unique space. That's what we call the in-between space between a client and a coach. And that has a huge impact on the outcomes of what happens in the room and has the potential for harm if we don't attend to it. And it contains rich information that can be used to help a client. So we look at what do we pay attention to, and look at some examples of how we could use it meaningfully. Is that okay? So we are looking at things that the client brings to the room, but non-verbally. So what happens at an unspoken level in the room? So I want to just give you a certain, one of my early coaching clients, we had the 3-way meeting with the sponsor, and we agreed on certain coaching goals. And then I had my first meeting with the client one-on-one, and he said, I don't really need coaching, but there's no way my manager would ever agree to that. I don't think I can persuade him. It's not worth the effort. So I don't think you need to waste your time. We can just chat. So this was the opening statement. So if you had a client who said that to you, what would be your process? Maybe 2 or 3 of you could share. Okay, let me ask you, has the client revealed something about himself in this sharing? What are you concluding about this client, or what can you infer?
Perhaps that they're not open to coaching.
Yeah, that they are verbally saying also.
Right. And I think somewhere, as much as they're verbally expressed, it's also a point, that they perhaps are not aware of why the manager feels that they need coaching.
Yeah. So certainly they are not, they're not, okay. Yeah. So something stops them from speaking to their manager or being open. So that's evident. What it could be, we need to figure out. We have two hands, Neha and Johnny, and we could hear them and then move on. Yes, Neha.
Yeah, similar that the client did not share this in the presence of the manager. So did not have the courage to share what the client is sharing with the coach one-on-one. Yeah.
So it could be an issue of courage. Possible. That's your intuitive assessment, that they are not assertive enough, but it could be other things as well. Yes, Johnny?
So I've had many such cases. I've lost count. And invariably with each of these, their biggest opening is let's have a chat. And that has led to the opening of a huge treasure box for the client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it may be they are testing you. That's what I'm picking up. Or the client is resentful. So we're saying our intuition is from this, without actually saying, I want to work on my courage, or I want to work on my angst with what's happening in the organization. The client has revealed it. Now it's our task to pick it up, but this sentence can create panic for us. And this is how our scripts can interact with the client scripts. And it could, the outcome is really what we bring also. We are also humans who get impacted by this, and different, all of us will be impacted differently in the process. So why do we use the here and now? We are all social beings. We develop a sense of self in relationships. Yeah. And suppose if I think I'm special, it's because of ways I have been treated through my life by significant others around me. And some of these, if I think I'm one down or not good enough, that's also a result of experiences that I've had through my life. And so my assessment of myself is often a reflection of how others have seen me through my life. And we carry these patterns into adult life. And many of the coaching agendas are some of these relational challenges. Now, the thing is, the relational challenges of the client will manifest in the room with the coach. Yeah. If the client is demanding or fearful or arrogant or self-effacing or controlling or judgmental, these traits will enter into the relationship with the coach. They will be displayed by the client in the coaching hour. So now we have to grow here and now rabbit ears. Yeah. So every action of theirs is rich with data, how they greet you, whether they show up on time, do they apologize profusely, do they get angry? Yeah. If we are not alert, we can miss a lot of rich data. So if a client tells you everybody misunderstands me, what's likely to happen in the relationship with you? Yes, Jaipreet.
And there possibly could be a point in this relationship where their belief may likely resurface. And if my history is also like attracted to their history, so this dynamic may just repeat.
Yeah. Yes, Ambuj. Yeah, thanks.
The client may present themselves as someone who is not going to be understood by us also, by me also. And that could create its own tension in the here and now.
They will find ways to not be understood by you. Yeah. So if you present an understanding, they might get angry saying this is not what I actually said. So set up to feel misunderstood or hurt. So we are So our job is not just to focus on the content of what they say, but also the process of what's happening at an unspoken level. And we use our own feelings as data. So do we get bored? Do we get angry? Do we overdo? All of these are data that something is happening at an unspoken level. Okay, so much for introduction. I want to get on with the first story. Any questions here before I read out a story? And I'll keep pausing as I read the story and invite you to respond. Any questions so far? Yes, Abhijit.
Yeah, and maybe my question, Aruna, perhaps this is some unfinished talk between you and I, that, see, we are feeling all of these things as a coach, right? So then how do we engage in revealing that to the client, which does not, scare the client away in some way? Yeah. And so I'm talking essentially about the concept of containment. How do we return it to the client in a way that is useful for the client? So while sharing the stories, if you may also add that piece, that'll be really a good takeaway for me.
Yeah, that's a very refined skill, because we can sometimes get furious with clients, blame them for not moving or being stuck. But it is our ethical responsibility to manage our own emotions and really share our experience in a very tentative way, in a way that's useful. And I'll share some ways to do it, but it is a complex skill. But I will talk about it. I'm glad you recognize that how to bring it up is an important thing. It's not dumping what we are experiencing on the client. Yes, Ambuj. Yeah. You have to unmute, Ambuj.
Could this be a sign that we as coaches are judging the client in some ways?
Yes, we do that. We are not perfect, but we have to be mindful of our own processes. And that's why we need our supervision or personal work separately so that we can be an instrument in the process. So if you're experiencing something, we can separate our own process from what the client is evoking in us. So those are those are that's the longer term work we as practitioners need to do. So I won't read the title of the story because it's a giveaway. I'm just going to start. So this is a client called Kirti who comes to me. And the first line is, "Here's the therapy fee in cash." She says, handing a big bundle of cash to me. So I say, "You're paying for 24 sessions up front?" I exclaimed in surprise. "You don't have to. Most clients pay for 6 sessions at a time." No, take it from me," she said, pushing the money towards me and turning her head away as if she did not even want to look at the money. Okay, so now let me ask, what's your first response to this? What could be happening with her? What's your intuition? Why is she paying for 24 sessions? Yes, Preeti.
I've read the book, but I don't remember all the stories. But my reaction when you lay down the scene is, I would feel a burden of the 24 sessions. Like it's my responsibility to carry her through those. So automatically there is some inequality there. Yeah.
Okay, so you are experiencing pressure and you feel that she's handing over something to you, which is take care of me. Okay, that's one interpretation. Yes, Ambuj.
I get the feeling that she has a belief that people are very money oriented and they are after her money. She will be very protective about her money, probably in some ways. Although this is quite an opposite kind of a behavior.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how you conclude that. She's handing it over. But yeah, it is. Yeah. So I'm very intrigued by how everyone's making meaning. It's okay. There are no right or wrongs here. Yeah. Yes, Abhijit. And with that, we'll move on. Yeah.
Yeah. I lowered my hand because I saw some other hands, but then, those went away. So yeah, I'm seeing it as commitment that, she wants to lock herself in, for all the 24 sessions.
Yeah. Okay, 24 sessions is not uncommon at all in therapy. If most therapy is weekly sessions, so 24 sessions is just 6 months. But it's a lot to commit to upfront, especially when I'm not asking for it. Yeah. And take it, this action of take it, like not wanting to look at it. And then she said, so when I asked her about that, she said, if I keep it with me, I will spend it. I have saved this for over 1 year. Yeah. Every time, so she was a therapist herself. Every time someone paid me for therapy, I would take the money and immediately put it into a piggy bank. If I saw it, I would get tempted to have an occasional ice cream and take an auto somewhere instead of the bus. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have saved this up so that I can work with you. Okay, so how would you feel? You can, yes, Rekha.
Yeah, I think I've read the book. I don't remember much about it, but I think there are two things simultaneously happening. One is she's saving up. So there is an aspirational kind of thing, and she's doing the work towards it. But at the same time, there is what's the word for it? Disallowing herself at the same time, an opposite of the same at the interestingly, I'm not sure how that works, but it seems like that is how it is to me.
So if someone tells you, I am not having ice cream so that I can work with you, how would you feel?
Actually conflicted, because it feels like, she's again aspirational, but at the same time, it's getting, something is getting devoid from her life or her experience for this. Yeah. So there is a sense of some sort of, again, energy or power or some sort of balance in that is what comes up for me.
So I immediately felt guilty. Yeah, which is, should I waive the fee or should I reduce it? She's so committed. She wants it so much and she's not taking the auto. She's just taking the public transports, things like that. So there's something in the revelation that created conflict within me. Yeah. So a part of me was admiring, wow, she's so committed to her therapy. Another part of me felt guilty. I wondered, should I return the money to her? Should I reduce the fee? She seems to be struggling. So I voiced it. I said, I'm feeling sad that you're depriving yourself of ice cream. Yeah. And the cash was still in my hand. No, don't feel sad. She said quite strongly, fighting her tears. I made a choice. I wanted to pay you in full before I started, because I am not confident that I'll have money. I would run into trouble halfway, and then I will have to ask you for a favor. Yeah, she was very determined not to ask me for a favor. Yeah, so I could see the determination in that. In that moment, I felt powerless against her determination. I accepted the money, even though I was significantly uncomfortable. Yeah.
So this is that chapter 30, Cash for Sympathy.
Now I kept the title away from
you can't give away. Yeah.
Well done, Ravi. You got the full prize for being a good student. Okay. So do you think the work with her would have been smooth? What's your guess? What kind of difficulties would we run into? Yes, Jaipreet.
Oh, whether she's getting value for her money, she's relying so much on me, and whether she's getting value for her money, she's denying herself the basic frills.
So I might try really hard. Yeah, so that's a dynamic that could get set up. Yes, Anup.
Yeah, so I think there is something deep in her mind that is running, and it's not about what she wants to achieve, but who she wants to become. And that is driving her so strongly that she's ready to give away even the smallest joys of life, but really want to be committed. So I'll be really interested in knowing where she's heading, what she's trying to become.
Yeah, so definitely there's a lot of determination in not wanting to take a favor. So there's that pride in self and also commitment to the process. So those positives are definitely there. I'm looking at the challenges that it can create. Yes, Johnny.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Aruna, but I would have felt a little constrained to push her and challenge her and be direct with her.
Yes.
Because of this running in the background.
Yeah. So I'm on the back foot. So maybe that's enough. Thank you. I'd see 2 more hands up. Which is what happened. That she was in charge. She was also coming in very strong. Yeah, which is no, this is how I want it. So I found myself not a psychological equal with her. So she was very much in charge. That's how I would say. Yeah. So she would, so she'd bring an issue to the session. We'll work with that. And next week, she would bring a completely different issue, and she would somehow stonewall my reference to any previous issue. So, and once she spoke about something, and I said, I'm curious about how things shifted with your friend you spoke about in the last session. You were going to meet her and you were very stressed about it. How did it go? Oh, that went just fine, she said, brushing off the issue with a dismissive wave of her hand. What made it fine? I asked. Well, because of all that we discussed, she frowned impatiently. But that's not, I want to talk about my mother-in-law today. So I found the progress she claimed to be quite magical and improbable, and yet I found myself unable to challenge her. Okay, so what could be happening now? Now I'm on a back foot, and why is she so much in control? What could be going on for her? How would that be serving her? Are these questions interesting for all of you?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 hands are up. We can work with those 3 hands. Rekha?
Yeah, somehow I'm feeling like she, just because she has paid up all that money, right? It's almost like now I will make demands of you, and I will decide what I will bring, and you will not tell me how it should be conducted.
Yeah, so that's a power dynamic that has been set up with me feeling obligated in some way because she has deprived herself of ice cream and she's worked so hard to save up this money. But there's also this element of not staying with a topic. Yeah, what could be behind that? Of moving on. Sheboti, are you?
Yeah, so I mean, just by listening to the story, I feel that it's her way of hiding and not really addressing the topic. So there is fear, and there is a lot of aggression that's coming in to say, hey, I have saved, I have made my therapist feel guilty. Now I will bring different topics, and it's almost showing that she doesn't want to go deeper. Like there is something happening which could be a game in the TA language that we could be using. But just like I do everything, but nothing really happens for me. I've saved up, I have gone for 24 sessions. I brought up so many different topics, nothing changes for me. So that's the sense I'm getting.
Yeah. But I really liked your word. It's a way of hiding. Yeah, that there is a resistance. See, all this is unconscious. And we are not judging the client, judging as in, this is assessment. Adult assessment is different from judging, which is putting the client down. Yeah, so good pickup there. I see 2 more hands up. Hi, Santosh.
Hi, Aruna. So I feel that maybe she's seeing these sessions more as a venting session as opposed to really wanting to do something about it, right? Because if she's flipping from one topic to another topic, not wanting to get closure on what she brought in and what she's actually done to move from where she was to where she should be, and that fact that she's paid you upfront She's saying, I can do what I want in these sessions and I just want to let my steam go. And it's confidential, which means she knows that if she vents about somebody, it's not going to go back to that person. So maybe she's seeing it as that kind rather than really wanting to go through therapy and move on.
Sure. Maybe she doesn't understand the potential from therapy. And sometimes people see therapy only as venting. So maybe some education is needed. That could be a reason also. So I'll just go with Ramesh. Is that okay, Jaipreet? Yeah. Yes, Ramesh.
Yeah, Aruna, I heard you saying that this person is also a therapist.
Yes.
So I don't know from where, but I'm getting this feeling that he's kind of trying to, it's a power game going on. She's trying to kind of prove her that she's an equal, if not superior, kind of.
All are possibilities.
Yeah.
So it could be a competing script. I don't think you can help me. Yeah. Or prove to me that you're good enough to help me. All these are possibilities. Yeah. So but my experience was a loss of power against her strength. So I wasn't able to bring this up in the conversation with her. And she very firmly stayed in control over what was actually discussed. So I took this powerlessness that I experienced for supervision. So supervision and therapy is broadly equivalent to mentor coaching and coaching. Yeah. So I wanted to reflect on what was going on. So in the supervision, I realized I felt bought. I felt bought by the fee and the story that came along with it. And her ulterior message that I picked up was, don't take me where I don't want to go. Yeah, I will. And I responded with, yes, I will not take you there because you've really struggled to make this work. And I feel guilty for charging you. And one of the things that came up was that I picked up was that she had difficulty with being vulnerable. That being vulnerable scared her, and which is why she was changing topics and really not getting to her feelings at all anyway. So now how supervision changed me is that I became more present to it and reclaimed my power. So nothing needs to I don't need to say anything to her. I just show up differently. So Abhijit, that's an answer to your question. Often when we process it, we can just show up non-verbally differently, and it changes the dynamics of the session. So next time when she put pressure on me, I could talk about it. I could respond to it as powerfully and not be on the back foot. So she was talking about how she felt unseen and humiliated by her husband. And I said, there is some investment that you have in sustaining this dynamic between you and your husband. So I wonder what it is for you. So that was a gentle challenge. And she went silent and looked ashamed momentarily, and then responded with, I'm not asking for too much from him. Just a little love and understanding. Is that too much to ask for? So I recognized the tangential response. It was an unconscious avoidance of my question. So I repeated the question. So which is my claiming my power back? Which is, did you hear my question? Yeah, because at that time I was clear that if she was defending against feelings, the work was in addressing or getting to those feelings. Yeah. Did you hear my question? I asked her. And yes, she said, and she looked sheepish. And her face changed. Then I said, what are you feeling? And then she continued to be silent. And I said, I sense shame from what I picked up from how she was looking. So naming an emotion this was my change as a result of supervision. And a result of my pickup that perhaps this change of topic is because of an avoidance of wanting to feel vulnerable. And she nodded, her head still down. And I said, tell me more about it in a very gentle way. And she said, I am a therapist. I should know better, in a very low volume. So does her answer explain a lot of things? Yeah. So it is, how can she be messy when she's a practitioner herself? Though she wants to work with it, there's a huge defense that creates shame, saying, how can I be a practitioner when I have so many unresolved issues? And then she said, I wonder what you think of me. So if a client asks you that, what would you say? I wonder what you think of me. So clearly she's so worried about me judging her. How might you respond?
How does that matter?
How does that matter? It matters, no, Johnny.
No. I would ask her.
Yeah. No, how does that matter? It matters to her. So I might not ask, how does it matter?
I'm not here to judge you at all.
Okay. All right. Any other responses?
You might say, it seems like my opinion of you matters. And
Yeah.
then, depending on what she says, take it further.
Yeah. So she's in a very vulnerable place. Yeah, she's touched that space, and it's important that she be held in that space. Yeah. And I usually recommend, we have to own our fallibility, right? I don't recommend statements like, I don't know, I don't know who said it, because I couldn't make out. Like I will never judge you, because it's not humanly possible. We may never reveal our judgments. But in this moment, we have to explore her internal process. That's our work. It's not about responding immediately. These are all moments of opportunity to understand why that question is important for her. How is that shaping how she's showing up in the room? So that's our work over there. So when she said, I wonder what you think of me, I said, what is your fantasy? How do you imagine me thinking about you? And she said, I imagine you disgusted. I'm such a mess. You might be thinking, how is she even a therapist? And I said, what is your belief about how a therapist should be? And then our work continued. I don't need to read out more than that. Yeah. And yeah, so the rest of it is about how we continued working with her shame. And okay, so how was this for you? Any comments or thoughts? Yes, Abhijit?
Yeah, I'm curious. More than thoughts, I have a question. So I think that use of the word fantasy is because there is something in the head of the client, right?
Yes.
That, this is how, so that, I don't know, I mean, that word fantasy. So is there a psychological, theory underpinning the word fantasy? That's my curiosity.
So this is very TA theory that we call all of these child fantasies or child delusions, which is when I imagine another constantly judging me, or I imagine others. So it's not reality. It's my projection. So because it's not reality, it's a product of my construction. So in TA, we would use the words delusions or fantasies. Yeah. A child contamination of the adult. Yeah. Any other questions?
Question, please.
Huh?
Can I ask?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to, you said post your supervision, then you were able to show up in a different way. I was just curious as to what are the non-verbal changes that happened, or what you put in effect to create that shift in your engagement.
Please go. Yeah. So essentially, I felt I wasn't so guilty. My guilt got resolved. So I showed up more. I could ask that question. So I could use the word shame without guilt. I could say, you're not answering my question. Or if she had changed the topic, I would have said, what is this changing of topic? And let's stay with that. And I wonder what's going on for you that we are shifting topics so easily, or I experience you really wanting to be in control. What's going on? Yeah, or I'm finding it difficult to come in or influence you. What's happening? Any ways to bring it up? It's just I would come in more powerfully than being on the back foot, which I was. Yeah, because of that dynamic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I hope all of this is also helping you connect with your own. You will have many. It's not possible to not have these challenges, right? All of you have millions such challenges. So it is to attend to these and not dismiss these as nothing, and recognize the significance of this. And so if I had not taken supervision and not found my power, you can see how my potency in my work would have been so significantly reduced, isn't it? Yeah. Shall I read another story? Yeah. So Ravi, no revealing the name. The first story is called Cash for Sympathy. So you now know what the so this is about a client called. Do you have your hand up, Ravi? Okay. So this is about a client called Rumit. Yeah, in this one, I'll give you breakout room activities. So Rumit looked up at me with wide eyes and a watery smile. I hate being helpless, she said, crying. Why am I this helpless? Everybody else seems to know what to do. So when I started working with Rumit, I was very keen to help her change. I would invite her attention to what she was discounting. She was from a premier engineering college. She was heading the India operations of an MNC. She was overseeing a 100-member team. She had made many bold decisions in her life, but she was not able to account for any of these. Yeah. She could only see herself as helpless in relationships. That was an unchanging view of herself that she had. She was unable to give critical feedback or ask for help for herself. She felt one down even with the people who reported to her. And she'd say, I hate how whiny I am. She was quiet in despair. She looked at me with starry eyes, almost waiting for me to do something. But whatever I said or did had no effect on her. I tried harder and I got frustrated. I was quite irritated with her that she was whining, but really not doing anything to act on in any area to make a difference to herself. So I wondered why I was trying so hard. And understanding her history gave me some answers. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'll request Shanti to break you into groups. Can you just imagine what her childhood might have been like? Just 5 minutes. Use your intuition and see how come she is the way she is as a leader of a 100-member team. Is that all right? Yeah. So 6 minutes for the breakout room.
Your room should be opening any moment.
Yeah. You haven't got an invite, Naina?
Yeah, some people are left. I'm just adding them to the rooms now.
So you are the one with those very interesting LinkedIn posts, no, Naina? So good to see you here.
Same here. I've been struggling to raise my hand, but I'm so glad to be attending this. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia also, Shamik, you don't?
Yeah, adding.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone should have an invite now.
Sure.
17.
Recording on pause, maybe. Your group finished fast, is it?
This is what too much of consensus does.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm very aware of the time, and so we won't be able to hear all the groups, but I'm suspecting there will be some overlap. So any two groups can possibly share what they came up with.
Maybe she wasn't stroked as a kid, so she never discovered that whatever she did was of any value because she wasn't stroked.
Validated. She wasn't validated for her thinking or her doing.
Yeah.
So that's one. So she has no confidence. So maybe she faced some neglect of some kind. So when children face neglect, they can be very confused because they haven't had the experience of being validated. So they don't have trust in their own capacity to think and act. That's one possibility. Others?
Well, if I can share quickly, Aruna,
Yes.
it felt like that, she's playing this yes, but game with therapist in the here and now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe that is because of lack of agency in her choices, during her, upbringing years.
Yeah. Yeah. So not experienced agency ever. Not, yeah. Yeah. So it's the same thing, not being trusted with age appropriate responsibilities or decisions. And that can result in a loss of sense of agency. Yes, Sushma. You'll have to unmute Sushma.
So,
Sushma and Jaipreet, and that's it. Yeah.
So here's a question, I think this sort of an example, when we were discussing it, brings out the difference between coaching and therapy. As they say, and when we say in ICF, no? Therapy, you go back into the past and look what it is and what's happening. And as a coach, we would like to go forward. So are we right in this assumption?
I think it's a very simplistic assumption. Yeah, it's not that we look back and coaching looks forward. Both are meant to help the client. And in both, we look for patterns. See, the idea is that she is who she is because of
the past.
Yeah, and it's not, yeah. And some of those long-standing patterns are important to examine. Yeah, we may not consciously do it in coaching. Anyway, I don't want to get into the differences because they are quite nebulous. Yeah, but it's okay. We've used our intuition. You don't have so much access to information about her, but this intuition itself can help you. Yeah, that there's been some lack which has led to her not being able to see her strengths. Will allow her to not judge her for being who she is. Yeah, we are all who we are because it is safe for us to be this way. And that's what we are looking to examine.
So would appreciative inquiry be a way to go? To help her understand her strengths and, appreciate herself?
Definitely. There's so many ways. There's no one way to go. Each person brings their own creativity and own style to the process. So attention to her strengths. That's what you're saying. That's definitely going to be part of any approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Jaipreet.
Just staying in touch with your frustration. If I were in your place, I'd feel like I want to give up on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did it mean something for her? Did people give up on it? Somewhere I'm sensing there could be a need. Something could happen. I don't know.
Yeah. Lovely. So my reactions are a clue to what she may have experienced as a little child. I'm getting angry with her. I'm getting irritated with her. I want to call her. What's wrong? I want to say, what's wrong with you? Yeah, there's so many options in front of you, and why are you not picking up any of them? So quite possibly she's been criticized a lot as a little child. Yeah. So that was what came up also. I don't need to get into her history. So she had emotionally unavailable parents. One was overly sulking, father was overly sulking, mother was very anxious. So both were not available emotionally to her. So she was confused and overwhelmed with her feelings, and she would turn to advice to her older sister, who would constantly reinforce that she was dependent and stupid. Yeah. So these relational patterns.
So to me, that gets surprised with the only like he did for you. No, no way it was possible. Huh?
Very difficult. I can't keep it for so long.
Thanks, Shanti. Yeah. Yeah. So now, so I was trying very hard. I had become the sister who was trying hard and was judging her for her stupidity. So now with this awareness, what should I do differently? What's your recommendation to me? So I've already got one recommendation, which is get her to attend to her strengths. Do you have any other recommendations for me?
I just wanted to add to that.
Yes, Nikita.
I feel that we should encourage that sense of dependency, because I think she's formed a belief about, oh, I can't be dependent on anyone. And maybe she is going through that phase of feeling stuck and not being able to move forward. Because as individuals, we do depend. But I think there's some negative narrative around it because a sister is reacting to that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So to be nurturing and kind and supportive, so is one way for her to say it's safe to show up as you in front of others. And so this is how we work relationally. In the relationship, they experience safety and nurturing and connection and support, and that allows them to show up as themselves. So it's that's one. So yeah, one more maybe from Preeti, and then I'll share what yeah.
And Aruna, this is because you said you started subconsciously playing the part of the older sister.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could maybe ask her about that, an open-ended question from a coaching perspective of who do I remind you of, or what does our dynamic remind you of?
Sure.
Which could, make the psychological apparent, right? Like, or bring it on the table.
Yeah.
It's a wonderment, of course.
Sure.
But sometimes when you're able to, it works for me. Like if I'm able to replay, identify who I'm thinking of when I'm relating to somebody, it solves a lot of confusion.
So bring that pattern to her awareness. That's a way to act. And the last one from Sanjog.
Yeah, in combination with focusing on the strength, I may ask her also that how today is different from yesterday. How today where she is different from where she was earlier.
Again, with a view for her to see her own journey and her own growth. That's what I'm thinking.
One part is growth. The other part also is that everything around her is different today compared to what it was.
Yeah.
She was a lot more vulnerable.
Sure.
Previously. So, she had to lean on her older sister. But how today things are different. Because as they say, the river in which we put our, foot changes. It changes. So, and that's a fact of life, no matter where you are. So very quickly, this is what I came to my mind.
Yeah. All of these are options. So I want to share, so Ursula, I'll come to you perhaps another time. What I did was I had been trying extra hard, and there was this, so to my mind, I know somebody said maybe we need to allow her to trust people. Maybe she is not able to trust. this is my assessment of her. I decided to not act. Yeah, I decided to break the pattern of my trying to fix her. So I just sat passively in the sessions. So if she looked at me wide-eyed, I just placed the question right back at her. And if she says, I'm stuck, I said, yeah, what shall we do? So really not taking an active role at all. And many sessions went by and the tension in the room grew. Yeah. So she was expecting me to do something and I wasn't. And I didn't pick up that invitation to take charge. And at one time, as we sat in silence, yeah, with a kind of dead energy in the space, she couldn't bear the tension anymore. And she smiled weakly and said, what are we doing here? Yeah. And I said, what makes you ask? And she said, she paused and she said, you're not doing anything. You're not taking charge. You're waiting for me to take the lead. You're not sharing your views with me. And then I smiled and I said, yeah, I'm not taking the lead. Yeah, I'm not sharing my views with you. How is that for you? Yeah, and my saying that caused a disturbance in her. She shook her head, looked downward to the left, frowning, and had some internal dialogue. What's going on? I said, extremely curious. And then the penny dropped, and she sat back in her chair, throwing down her hands and said, what am I doing? I'm waiting for you to take charge of my life, rather than trusting my own thinking. I've just forgotten to think on my own. I cannot survive at all without having someone tell me what to do. And at that moment, she got in touch with a very powerful knowing part of her. And we both celebrated the enormity of her insight and spent time trying to get her to savor her newfound power. And then we made connections to the strategies she had developed as a little child. And she contacted a fantasy, that word I'm using again, that if she had waited long enough, someone would come and take charge and all would be well. And a weight seemed to fall off her chest and she started giggling. And she said, how difficult it must have been for you to sit patiently without doing anything. And that statement was the marker of change for me. She was relating to me differently, as more as an equal rather than putting me on a pedestal. And that session was a starting point of a series of changes in her life, where she started to relate on a more equal footing rather than a one down footing. Yeah, and the name of the story is Do Me Something. Yeah. All right.
You wrote about it on LinkedIn as well, I think a couple of months ago.
This story?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't remember. I have to go check my posts.
This one and Not My Circus, Not My Monkey.
I did Not My Circus, Not My Monkeys for cartoon script work.
Right. And the other, yeah, that also about, I think, several months ago.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi. Okay, so I am now torn between whether we should get you all to share your experiences or I share one more story. Who's in a mood for one more story? Okay, so I'm not going to share the whole story. I'll just share the beginning, and I think then we'll have some time for. Okay, I think I've lost the. Yeah. I'll just share the beginning, and some dynamics will become clear. So this is a client called Rachna, who this is the first interaction with her, and she says, I can't meet you on weekdays. I have very long days at work. Give me a slot for Sundays. Very brusque style. Yeah, it felt more like an order than a request. So I immediately found myself getting defiant. I don't work on Sundays. And she was not yet a client. Today was our first meeting. It's just 1 hour, she said, shrugging her shoulders, frowning disapprovingly. Don't you have other clients who work full time? I'm sorry, Rachna, I said firmly while noting my increasing annoyance. Sundays are my personal time. I can share my weekday slots with you. We can find a weekday slot that works for both of us. We can find a weekly slot that works for both of us. That's another thing. I don't think we need to meet weekly, she declared. Yeah. So how would you respond with a client who's ordering you and deciding what's okay, what's not okay? Would you get irritated like me? Would you say get lost?
Of course, yeah, get lost.
You might communicate that, yeah. Which is what I did outside my awareness, because the annoyance was just heightening. And I said, well, maybe you will work better with another more flexible therapist. So polished words, yeah, but the undertone of anger was it reached her. Yeah, because that's what was happening at an unspoken level. Yeah, she's really taking charge, and I'm saying you cannot take charge with me. And she said, you're telling me to get lost. Yeah, so she picked it up. And she said it was embarrassing for me. Yeah, because that was my tone. And she said, you're giving me no choice but to go away and go to somebody else. And it's very easy for you to push me away, isn't it? I need you. You don't need me.
That is the name of the title of the story.
Shall we all clap for Ravi? Well done. So the title of the story is I need you, you don't need me. So if a client says that to you, how would you get impacted? It's a very significant statement, isn't it? I need you and you don't need me, so it's so easy for you to push me away. I think that angry, controlling client taught me so much with that one statement of hers. Yeah. Yes, Jaipreet.
You're just wondering two things. One, is it the story of her life? I need you, and it's so easy for people in power to abandon me. And so that's one. And second, I'm just in touch with her pain, the being torn in between. Like there must be something paining her that's got her there. And to maintain the initial stance that see, it's going to be on my terms. So I sense a lot of pain. Something's hurting badly. Not allowing the client to be vulnerable at all.
Yeah. Behind all this beautiful, Jaipreet, really beautiful, behind this arrogant demand
vulnerability
presence is huge vulnerability. And there's a desperation, which is very difficult for her to show. And it leaks. And I become so painfully aware of the power dynamic. Yeah, which is she is vulnerable and I'm not. And it is easy for me to be insensitive to that. And that all clients are okay. They are fine people. And if you're struggling, if you're showing up a certain way because we are wounded, that's a therapist lens that we are all who we are in because it serves us and it's protective of us in some way. Yeah. So then it's my responsibility to use because she is pushing me, I as a practitioner don't have the license to be rude or mean to her. Yeah, I need to manage myself better. And I think this power dynamic. So the game that we had got into was my game was you can't control me. Yeah. While I was irritated, there was truth to the statement, I need you, you don't need me. So we have to look at the balance of power, especially in therapy. People come in a very vulnerable position. Maybe in coaching also, I wouldn't say that people are not, but they do come in a confused state, seeking some answers for themselves. And it is important for us to not exploit that vulnerability. Yeah, that's important. So I immediately softened. And I also know that the aggression was self-protective for her in some way. Yeah, and underneath aggression is always vulnerability. And I said, I sense that I see your need to work with a therapist right now, but agreeing to clear boundaries contributes to the effectiveness of work together. Why don't we see how we can make weekdays work? I could give you the first slot or I could give you the last slot if it makes it easier. So when I softened, it became an invitation for her to soften also. And we started work. But our work was not easy. She continued to challenge boundaries repeatedly, canceling at the last minute, showing up late, and continuing to ask me slots for holidays, for Sundays. So then I decided to talk about it. So this is how you bring the here and now into the rooms. I said, it seems very important for you that I make slot on a holiday for you. Yeah, so I said, what does it mean? What does it mean that I'm making this slot for you? And then she took some time to ponder about it and said that you care enough for me to make an exception. So it's really testing, constantly testing. Yeah, constantly testing that am I important to this other person? So you can see how their interpersonal patterns show up in the relationship with the therapist. So I said, I won't read the story fully, but I'll say, what does caring enough mean? Yeah. And then she said, actually, she thought about it and said that you have to do something extra. Because if people don't do something extra, I don't feel special. So being special was really important for her. Yeah, so I think this is, and the rest of the story continues about why her need to feel special and all of that. But yeah, one more example of how we can use what happens in the in-betweenness between the client and the therapist to make sense of and help the client. Yeah, because there's such rich information that is shared. I had a breakout room activity, but I feel we may not have time. It's just 15 minutes left. So maybe I will just use this time for questions or sharing. Yeah. So maybe we could share openly. Can you connect with moments of tension, conflict, or disconnection with a client? Yeah. And then we can, if anyone has a case to share, we could talk about it together. Or any aspect of what the client said that was puzzling for you. Maybe some clients yawn in the session, or they eat breakfast or eat whatever, something that creates some confusion for you and you don't know how to make meaning of it. Yeah. Yes.
I can share one situation which I faced in a coaching conversation.
Yeah.
We were discussing about taking feedback, the client taking the feedback from people around her. So she said, I don't need that feedback. What will they give me feedback? And then like I did not know how to react to that.
Mm-hmm. Lovely, lovely. So shall we discuss this?
Yes, no worries. Please do.
So you asked her, would you like to take feedback from your stakeholders, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was quite some time ago, but the topic was feedback. The thing was that at the end of that, she would have taken feedback from her boss about her work. How does he want her to improve and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And her response was, I don't know what they're going to say.
I think I already told him what I wanted to say, and I don't think there need for any further discussion. Something like that.
Okay, so I hear that as a no. What conflict did it create for you?
I was like, immediately, how should I move forward? I felt blocked in my process.
Yeah.
Because I had this stereotyping that feedback is very essential for progress.
Yeah. So I will honor your experience, the block that you felt. So there's something powerfully non-verbal where it's not it doesn't feel like a logical no. There's some emotional intensity to that no, which makes you feel blocked and stuck. It could be from the client or it could be your process also. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But how will you bring it up with her? I think it's important to talk about it, isn't it?
Yes, it is that. In fact, it has been 7-8 months, more than that. That engagement is also over. And I'm still wondering, I could have done it better. I don't know how.
You want to play here? You can say how would you bring it up? What could you say to her? What was it about how she responded that you could bring up? A good way to do this is to use the phrase "I wonder" and then share your intuition.
I wonder what is it that that makes you feel that there's nothing more to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sense a strong reaction to this suggestion. So I'm wondering, yeah, what's your intuition? Why is she saying no? Is she sick of feedback, or does she not have a good relationship with her boss? Is she?
In fact, she had been working for a very long time in the company. That was her first job.
Yeah.
And the company has grown along with her.
Okay.
And there is some, the company started a parallel company, where that business contradicts with her role. She is a business head and they have common customers and there's competition. So
Okay.
that's what's disgusting her.
Okay. So then I might say, I wonder if you don't trust them anymore to give you feedback that is useful to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's how you bring it up. You sense something and you feel a block, but then you dissolve the block by inviting her to talk about it again.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of too overwhelmed to think what might be the. But I get it. I get your point.
Yeah.
If I had to do it again, I would have done I would do like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Abhijit. And that
Yeah, so
before, and then we can close. Yeah. Yes, Abhijit.
yeah, sure. So a very often occurring case is that clients say that they will do something in between the sessions. There is some work to do. They won't do it and they turn up. Yeah. And so it kind of, and there is my script of the overachiever. So I'm like a little, sort of annoyed that, oh, you are not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
And I like to surface it, but then my ethical dilemmas are that, oh, would I be pushing the client too much? And also, would I be taking agency away from the client with that push nudge? And typically I've tried, oh, I wonder what got in the way. And I typically get a series of excuses. Oh, this happened, that happened, work came, and all of that. And so then to push is where my ethical dilemmas are. So, yeah, I don't know.
But why would you push?
Not push. I mean, push in the sense, help them see that there is importance in the commitments, that you made. And something like that. I don't know how to frame.
Yeah. So I might ask, are you feeling pressured? Why? I wondered. So what are they revealing?
And so I feel that, they get in that game, yes, but which I don't want to happen in that moment.
Yeah.
But then, how do I really surface it without coming across as pushy or, like I said, taking their agency away that this guy is going to drive the entire, kind of accountability and stuff like that. Then I don't know how do I bring it.
I might ask, do you want homework? Why? I wonder why you accepted this. Are you feeling safe to disagree with me in some way? Are you pleasing me? It's okay for them to not do homework, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to work for them. How do you feel about what I'm saying?
Yeah, the disagreement part is important because, they're trying to impress me in some way. And hence, coming up with excuses rather than just saying, well, I didn't see value in it or whatever, whatever other reasons could be.
That could be one. Or what they are asking, maybe they are facing their resistance where the work needs to happen.
Yeah.
And identify that because that may be scary for them, which is why they are avoiding it or postponing it, or that's another thing to explore. that what could be the reason, so it's exploration of that, not really. So so you're aware of your own process. Is there a discount of you? And if there's a discount of you, that's a difficult thing to bring up. Which is, but that can also be brought up if that happens repeatedly, and if it's connected to and if you can be sure if it's a discount of you, which is, I wonder how you see me, because this is how I'm experiencing. I'm experiencing what I'm saying as not being valued. So I'm wondering how you are seeing it. All these are ways.
Thank you. And I think now that you are saying all of this, what's really coming up for me, that I perhaps am scared about myself, that is it my overachievement that I'm kind of, putting on them? And they don't need to be this way.
And my need to. So then the clients are working for us, not really for themselves. So, which is not the relationship at all, isn't it? Okay, so thank you, folks. Maybe we have last few minutes if you want to share how this has been for you. And I get a sense of, I think there's been severe depletion in the group size, isn't it? But it's fine. No, I see still 55 are there. That's good. Any comments or sharing at the end of this? Thank you for those. Yes, Ravi.
I'm both thankful and grateful to you, Aruna, for taking the time to host the session for ICF Bengaluru Charter Chapter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravi. And thank you for enthusiastically reading my book and remembering everything about it. Thank you for that. Very, very flattering. Yes, Ambuj.
So it was a wonderful session. Thank you for taking our questions and involving us in the discussion. Some very great learnings I'm carrying away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambuj.
Yeah, so I just want to add, Aruna, I've not been attending any of these webinars of late because of my schedule. But when I saw your name and the title, I couldn't resist and I canceled my other engagements. And having done that, I am right now feeling that I have done a wise thing. So thank you, Aruna, for that wonderful session.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you. It's a very lovely
For
story.
the session, Aruna, really great. And also, one of the things that I realized is I'm also seeing a pattern of folks who I end up coaching, who are more on aggressive, extremely talkative, and also irreverent. And I'm also wondering if there is some work that I need to do so that I don't end up attracting such people. Because it's really draining me at the end of the day.
Or strengthen your capacity to see the vulnerability behind these. So you not lose your power in the face of this.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Sagira. Yes, Jaipreet.
Thank you, Aruna. Really enjoyed the workshop. And just wondering again, there's so much happening in the counseling, a therapy room, a coaching room. But I may be in a position to potentially benefit the client only if I'm in touch with what I'm going through. And what could this mean for the client? What are they going through? And that's hard work. That's really hard work.
I think, Aruna, some interesting insights through the session, but I think what really stood out for me was acknowledging and recognizing and managing our own selves in what has come up. Once that awareness happens, that without you on having to do anything, things shift, right? So just being a reminder to come to that space. I think that was a good one for me.
Not all interventions.
Aruna?
Yes,
Aruna, there are people who want to get in touch with you, are asking how can they reach out to you?
Okay, my email address maybe aruna@navgati.in. Should I put it on chat?
I'm adding.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Piyush.
Yeah, I think the meaning of coaching presence and cultivating trust and safety came across very clearly in the context of coaching here. And what it's a deeper interpretation of that.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful reminder of how we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It was lovely to have your engagement. I saw your attention and interaction, and it was heartwarming for me. And I feel very happy to be here and do this, and happy to do more. If you invite me.
Absolutely, Aruna. There are enough thanks and enough wanting to hear you more in the chat. Definitely, I'm reaching out to you again, and let's see what we can bring together for the community.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks, old friends.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Grateful.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lovely session, Aruna, as always. Thoroughly enjoyed. That's the one part I don't like being the host, because I'm too distracted with the chat. I'm not able to participate. But participants have enjoyed it too. I'll send you the text chat. You will see the value people have found in the comments. They've loved it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very grateful to you, Shanti. Yeah. See you.
Yeah, I will reach out to you again. Let's see what else. And if you want to, I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah, and there are